From Sri Lanka, Nandana Wickramage, former Group Director, CBL, Strategic Advisor to and Director of multiple companies in Sri Lanka.
Ayubowan to everyone, and hi. As you may be aware, Sri Lanka is a very beautiful and a small island with a population around 22 million. Sri Lanka being rated as the #1 tourist destination by the Lonely Planet, it's obvious that tourism contributes a large portion to our economy. Two other contributors to our economy are the income generated from the exports, and the other is the remittance which comes from the Sri Lankans working abroad. It's obvious that all these came to a standstill with the lockdown. I must also mention that when we went into the lockdown, we were just 1 month prior to the biggest ever season for a year, which is the Sri Lankan New Year. Almost all the companies, all the brands make the highest turnover during these 2 months, really. Most companies had manufactured the requirements for the season, for the demand. Some had even imported all the raw material for their productions, aiming at the high potential during the season. I mention these facts for you to understand the plight these companies and the brands would have gone through. I wanted to indicate the magnitude of the problem. Just because this is the given situation, do we just shut down, give in to the situation, or wait until everything comes to normal, or find the way to survive? There would have been some companies who went into a shell, and those are the companies that are in deep, deep trouble today. There were many individuals, companies, small, medium, large-scale entrepreneurs who wanted to fight the situation. They wanted to seek for opportunity within the situation. Those were the companies and brands who did not want to say no. Those companies and brands looked at the positive. They wanted to really make sure that their people are happy, their employees are safe, and also their customers are safe, happy, and also retained. Haven't given a brief to you on the country situation, right, and a little bit about the companies. Let me now dive into the topic of the day, engagement. If someone asks me what is the key asset of an organization, without any hesitation, I would say there are two. They are equal. One is the people, the employees. Two are the customers, right? So retaining the most valuable employees and the customers who are already our valuable customers and the potential customers, getting them engaged with the brand becomes very, very vital. Before the pandemic, there were many organizations who shouted, who boasted about their customer retention strategies, customer engagement policies, customer engagement strategies, and their superior technologies and tools. But how many of them actually were successful? Right now, at this current moment, what really is working are those brands that have engaged with the customers truly through understanding the real psyche of the customers and touching their hearts, and not those brands and companies who just collected loads of information from the customers and had technology behind them. It's also a fact that the companies and brands who could take fast decisions and could take fast actions were able to come out of this situation fast. They were able to grab the opportunities. They were able to innovate and keep the brands alive in the minds of the customers. after the pandemic is over, if one expects to wake up in the same world as they were in before, those brands are really dreaming. The consumers' value systems will be totally different. Their thinking patterns will be quite different. How much engagement you had during this period, how connected you were with the consumer, how close you got to their heart and captured their heart share would matter to the business and the brand's future. You would have been exposed to many brands who suddenly reacted to the situation and came up with very emotional campaigns, communications. Mind you, fake emotions are very easily noticed by the customers. They could not be fooled. They can't be fooled. The very single point that I'm trying to get across is that it's only the brands that understand the consumer psyche and the behavioral patterns of their customers and their consumers had genuinely interaction with the customers at the time of need. Are the customers as the companies who won the hearts at the right time, and they will progress in the new normal. The video that I'm trying to share with you before I end up this session is about genuinely engaging with the customers. Tourists are the customers who contribute towards our economy. As I said before, because tourists have always been with us. So they are our customers. Retaining them is all about engaging with them. This video will prove to you how Sri Lankans, the public of this country, connected with them, and how we will definitely be supported by the tourist when this whole pandemic is over. I'm sure it's going to really, tourism is going to really boost. And there'll be definite pluses, definite positives of what this interaction, what we have done for really unknowingly, maybe it's unknowing sometimes. We wouldn't have known, but the general public wouldn't have really thought that this is interaction with the customers, this is how we are doing it, there will be a benefit. No, the intentions might have not been that, but definitely customer retention would be there. So I would call for Hemant to show this video, and I'm sure this is about customer engagement and customer engagement at its peak. Hemant, I would like you to show the video.
When you shut down an entire airline, there are consequences. People get stranded and they can no longer fly home. Right now, millions of tourists are stuck in countries that are not their home countries. They find themselves alone with little money, little support, away from their family, because it's literally impossible and illegal to fly back home.
Everything that I'm reading on Twitter and Facebook is saying that the people that are following through with that are unable to get anywhere.
So what are these millions of people supposed to do? Well, this is a problem, and there is one country that is trying to fix it. It's called Sri Lanka. In a small town in Sri Lanka called Ella, 14 tourists got stuck with no money or home. They couldn't fly back, and they couldn't afford a hotel. And that's where Sri Lanka hospitality really shines. The entire city got together to help their 14 stranded tourists to give them food, accommodation, and most importantly, give them family away from family.
This is a thank you to Sri Lanka.
And the kindness and generosity of a town called Ella.
And this isn't just 14 tourists. On the entire country level, a new program was launched called Tourism Disaster Monitoring and Hosting Program. This is meant to support every stranded tourist in the country. If you are a foreigner stuck in Sri Lanka, they will host you, give you a home, give you food and support to survive the lockdown without going bankrupt. They will be your family away from family. More people need to be aware of these programs because, you see, Sri Lanka is actually not a rich country, it's a developing one. And the truth is, 12.5% of their economy is built on tourism. Tourism used to be the lifeline of the country, and now tourism is dead and the economy is suffering. But even when tourism went down to zero, Sri Lanka continued to treat tourists with dignity and respect. During good times, they love tourists. During bad times, they help tourists. Right now, in many other countries, tourists cannot fly home all around the world, and many of them may not be able to afford a hotel in a lockdown. They too need to be taken care of. Let's hope that tourism comes back to life, and when it does, maybe in 1 year or 2 years, us tourists should finally pay back Sri Lanka for these acts of kindness. We should visit their country, stay in local hotels, and help their economy, because that is the best way for us to say thank you. And that is good news worthy of sharing.
So thank you, Hemant, for sharing that video. Why I wanted to share that video is just to give you an example of what is real customer engagement. So over to you, Pawan. Thank you very much.